Good morning and welcome to Ask the Accountant. It's our weekly series. It is Monday morning. This is episode 65. And as always, I am joined by Mr. Aaron Patrick. Aaron, how are you and how is your week going?
Good morning. I feel like I'm back to normal. Last week was a bit of a weird one, not being in my studio, all the lights on and everything else. Now I feel like I'm back where I belong. I feel like I've got everything set up how it should be. So no, I'm pumped for a good show. We've not got many comments to talk about or articles to go through, but I feel like there's enough interesting topics to cover that we'll make the most of it. So I'm hyped. What about you, Johann? How's your week been? You had a good week?
Yeah,
firing
good
on
week.
all cylinders?
I was firing on all cylinders this weekend. You know, the gremlins that stop you from working, stop you from enjoying your time off even, and keep you working all weekend. Yeah, that was me this weekend. It was interesting. Jax from Zama posted on LinkedIn, like, as a founder, he's not someone that generally works weekends and evenings, but when he's got a project that he's excited by, there's no switching off. It's all or nothing. And yeah, I've very much, as you're aware through text messages, etc., that I'm very much on one of those projects right now. I mean, the whole client engager thing is a project right now, and I'm loving life. But yeah, like we're preparing a whole certification process basically to help users understand the practice management software and get better value out of it, which is, from what I can tell, something no practice management software has ever done. So exciting times, you know, breaking the mold as usual. But yeah, so very productive weekend, but I can't say it was overly bit. Like, most of that work was done on an iPad, sat on the sofa watching TV. So yeah, my wife's binge watching Shetland at the moment.
Okay.
Which, yeah, tedious. So I get a lot of work done. So yeah, no, it's been good. I mean, it's 15th of January. The software world's fairly quiet because everyone seems to think accountants and bookkeepers are too busy. Based on client engager figures at the moment, I'm going to dispute that because we've done 55 odd trials this month already. People have signed up, and it's like everyone told us January's dead. Don't ever contact anyone in January. No one's going to contact you in January unless it's for support. No one signs up for new softwares, especially practice management. I mean, we're on route for a record-breaking month at the moment for new trials. So I'm going to dispute that somewhat and say actually accountants and bookkeepers have got time on their hands in places to focus on things that are important to them, and they're also probably finding actually a new tool might help them be more efficient in this time of pain. So yeah, no, I'm all good this end. But it is the 15th of January, Aaron. So how are you getting on with your tax returns?
I think we should pass this out to should we talk about the team, the comments as well, and just get that?
Yes. Yes. Let's say hello to everybody first. And we're going to talk about tax returns and what our progress is with tax returns for the month and how we're finding clients. So if you want to share how you're getting on in the comments, please do. So good morning, Cheryl. Thank you very much for saying good morning, Cheryl, because that's prompted us to go live. We were too busy chatting as always. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Natasha. Good morning, Kirsty. Kirsty's on 2 platforms looking at this. LinkedIn and YouTube. That's the benefit of multi-screens, isn't it? Good morning, Louise. And Paul it will be great to have a training resource for staff. Yep, completely agree, Paul. And good morning to Paul Keating as well. So brilliant. Okay, so as I say, 15th of January, pretty much halfway there, folks. Nearly done. So yeah, where are you up to with your tax returns? Are you done? Fantastic if you are. Are you miles off? Are you halfway there? Aaron, where are you and Bofix up to?
So I'm in a bit of a unique situation where I've got Bofix and I've got my own personal practice as well. With Bofix, we came into January the best we ever have. So all thanks to nice little practice management solution that's been helping us be more efficient with our clients. That's definitely helped. But ultimately, it's just clients being more on the ball. We've incentivized them, we've trained them, and we started our January the best we ever did. But I feel like we've made a good push on it. But I feel like in previous years we would have then had to do that catch up, and we really would have moved the needle in this last bit. We've moved the needle, but nowhere near as much as previous years. And we've not had to because there's not as much that needs to be done. But I feel like it's definitely highlighting towards those clients that we think, oh, they're not quite the ones that work well with what we're doing and how we're doing, and we're just going to have conversations with them. And I think that's what this year's done more than anything else, is highlighted towards those clients. From my other practice point of view, yeah, it's not gone well at all. I'm still struggling to I've just got to bite the bullet at some point and realize that you can only have so many plates spinning. And sometimes you've just got to go, right, actually those plates are some plates are far more valuable than others. So yeah, maybe I've got to rein it in a little bit. But yeah, I think that's where we are at the moment. But I feel like this year has just been a strange year. There seems to be complete polar opposite of your type of client. You've got some clients who love the idea of just getting stuff in, and that's definitely been shown more than anything else this year. And then you just got some clients who they just don't want to. They just want to bury their head in the sand. They don't want to have those conversations. And we try, don't we, to change the perception of a client. We try and incentivize them. We try and give them as many different opportunities to get the data in more efficiently, but ultimately they just don't. They just prefer to leave it until the very last second, and that's the sort of mentality they are. And you've sometimes just got to have that harsh conversation with that client or with yourself and go, are they the right clients for us, isn't it? I think that's this year's highlighted that more than anything. What about you, Johann? How's it been? I know you must have had a more interesting year with the acquisitions, everything getting in the way. So yeah, how's it been?
Yeah. So April to summer, we always have a good first bash at it, and we get the proactive ones or the ones that know they need their tax returns doing early for mortgages and stuff done early. That's great. But then we do an acquisition like in August, and then that percentage that you've done suddenly distorted because you've got more tax returns to do. Then it's summer, then the kids are going back to school, then it's Christmas, and then all of a sudden you've run out of time. So yeah, we went into December about 30% of tax returns for the year done. We're now up to just over 50, so we have moved the dial quite significantly.
Yeah, definitely.
But the ones, so I count in that percentage, I only count it done once it's filed to HMRC. So I've got another 10% of tax returns done and awaiting client signatures. So technically I'm up at 60%. But I don't count it done until it's in with HMRC, basically. Even then it's a bit, is it done? Will they come back? Have they remembered something that we've asked them and they've said no and now they've said yes, that type of thing. But yeah, so they've done all that. But the majority, I would say, so if we're at 60% ready to be filed, I'd say another 20% are in conversation with us and have said, we're giving you the information here, we're giving you information there, or I need to check this, or I'm waiting for a payslip or a P60 from an old employer, something like that is holding us up. And then the other 20% are people that came to us last year, probably last minute, had a tax return, paid for the tax return. They're still on our list, but we don't know, and they're not responding to us to tell us whether they're going to need it again this year. Yeah. So it's like, actually, we could be nearly 100%. We won't know until the 1st of February. because we'll give them every opportunity to come back to us and say, here's the information, I'm really sorry. You will be paying our late filing invoice service charge. So we'll see. Like we normally jump from like 70 to 100% in the space of the final week. So that's normal for us. So I'm happy with where we are, and I think we're probably slightly ahead of where we were last year. And last year we didn't work any evenings or weekends. So if we can deliver that again this year, I'll be very happy. Whereas in previous years, that final weekend and long days during the week were a nightmare.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think this year as well, if we think back to last year, I was praising to the high heavens about the whole technology where we can bring in the P60 information into our tax software, one click is in there, everything done. And this time last year, I was praising that to be the game changer, the change of everything else. This year, we've just had that be hit or miss. Now, I don't think it's our software's fault. I think it's all down to HMRC. I think it's their implementation of this solution. But in theory, if that was working, we'd be by now would be like just a handful of clients left to do, because a lot of them were just waiting for little bits like P60 information. And back in the day, we would pick up the phone, ring up HMRC, get the information ourselves, and just do it. But we've just said blanket, we're not, unless there's a particular reason, we're not going to call up HMRC, waste their resources, waste our resources for realistically something that the client should be just sending us, and we give them loads of opportunities to get that into us easily. But if that one piece of tech worked and worked flawlessly, we'd be so far ahead of the game at this point. And it's just so frustrating that ironically for us, the ones that it's worked out flawlessly for are the ones that we do the payroll for. We didn't need the information anyway. We could have provided that, right? And the ones where we're struggling to make it work are the ones outside of it. So, and I think it is just a roll of the dice to which works, which don't.
And I think so. HMRC will blame the employers and the software the employers are using. Employers blame so if my wife, for example, so she moved jobs in July and went onto the HMRC website during the week last week one evening to find that HMRC thinks she's got 2 jobs still, even though she's got the P60 in her hand. So you speak to HMRC and HMRC, well, we've not been sent the right filing from this software. I mean, they're using antiquated payroll software that's been out of date for years, but so their HMRC are saying they've not had the information to terminate her as an employee at that one, but they've got the information for the new one, and it's like, for God's sake, like that's why the fetch tool doesn't work. Because if I ran fetch on her, it would come back that she's got 2 employments. It wouldn't come back with with the right information. So whether HMRC have been notified and it hasn't gone through, I don't know. But when you're just the taxpayer and you've got your P60 in your hand, you expect it to be seamless. You don't expect to be taxed or your tax code to be changed because HMRC haven't got the most accurate records and think you're doing 2 full-time jobs now. So it's the fetch tool in theory could be hugely powerful, but it's only as good as the information it's fed. So if you don't feed it or you feed it crap comes out. So to the point that we don't even touch it anymore. We don't even look at it because it's just, as you said, that the only ones that ever came back as accurate were the bleeding ones that we did payroll for. So we had the P60s. Like it was quicker for me to go to my payroll guys and go, right, I need these. And they'd come back with them. And it's like, oh, that's easier than HMRC's patchy rubbish. So I don't know. And it's because that works so well for us, like I kind of understand what HMRC is saying is it's not us. It's the employer or it's the software they're using, not filing the right information. Because I know our software is filing the right information and fetch works every time for those clients, which I don't need it to. Because we've got the information on record.
In fairness, most of them will be quite simple payroll as well, right? Like you're not going to have the most complicated payroll clients with those ones. But yeah, it's just frustrating, isn't it? Because if we just could go into HMRC and see that information ourselves, the same that the client could with a 648, that would also solve the issue. Like all it is just fighting pain points all the time, isn't it? And it's just where there's always going to be that frustration and that friction between an accountant and HMRC, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We want to make it as seamless as possible so that we don't have to get on the phone to HMRC. No accountant in the world likes speaking to HMRC on the phone. So if we could have ways,
we've got better things to do with our time. It's not efficient.
Yeah, and the clients certainly don't want to speak sit there and speak to HMRC. So it just feels like if we could just break those final bits of, well, I say final, but if we could break some of those barriers down, then I mean that's what the dream of MTD was supposed to be, right? MTD, that's what it was supposed to be. It was, let's make it so that clients and accountants and everyone has the same portal, and we all have this. But yeah, based on the portal they've already shown us, I'm not sure. If anything, it's a backward step, isn't it? So what can we do? What can we do? So yeah, it's interesting. I think the other frustration we've had this year, and it's something we've got to learn to do better, is just find a better way to make sure that clients know when their data is clean and not clean. This year especially, there's been a lot of clients who've been like, look, business is a little bit tighter than it has been in the past. We're not going to be able to have the same level of service maybe we've had previously. So we have a conversation about them, and the only thing that we can ever drop for them, and the one that they're happy to drop, is bookkeeping, right? Like they're more than happy, and they're competent enough to do their bookkeeping. It's not like it was there are some clients where we would never, would drop their accounts before they drop the bookkeeping sort of idea. But the problem we have is then that communication between a client is, well, when is your books ready for us to do? And it's that no software out there has got that way of just being able to easily show clients that yes, it's ready to go to your account. There's no UI, there's no checklist built into this product where they can go tick 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 tick. Yeah, I'm ready. My accountant, inform my accountant I'm ready for their accounts to be done. That workflow's never been solved. People have tried, haven't they? They've tried to build them, they've tried to put them out there, and we do our own. We do like a Google sheet that clients fill out, and Client Engager, we've put it onto there, and there's a form that they can fill out on there to say it's ready, for example. But it's still not as fluid as it would be if it was in the product, and they're literally saying that they're happy this bit. So I feel like this year especially is highlighted where those pain points can be better for us, where we're trying as best we possibly can to be as forward thinking and as on the ball and everything else, but we're still being held back by either HMRC's shoddy implementation of a solution or software not really taking it to that next step. So hopefully this is a year where software can kind of wake up and go, you know what, there are ways we can help clients and accountants work better. And I think hopefully that's what we're going to get out of it this year.
Fingers crossed. Right, shall we go for the comments and see how our listeners and viewers are doing with their tax returns? So Kirsty says the reason she was on 2 is because QuickBooks YouTube goes live quicker and didn't want to miss the start. Fair enough.
I mean, that doesn't sound right, does it? LinkedIn's such a strong, powerful platform that never goes wrong. You know what I mean?
And loves streaming services.
And loves video. You know, that doesn't make sense. I don't know. I think you've got that wrong there, Kirsty. I think how dare you slate our beloved LinkedIn.
Louise says practice management software is the most important one in your business and probably the only one we get really excited about. So it's no surprise that Client Engager is having a great month during our busiest time. Thank you. LinkedIn says, user says, good morning, lads. Good morning.
Good morning.
League Saint, regarding tax returns, feeling a bit smug. Isle of Man here, we have to have it done by the 5th of October for most of our clients. So only a few left with extensions granted to tidy up. Nice.
That's good. I like that. I mean,
in that case, we'll sit here feeling smug on the 5th of October going, we haven't got this problem for another 3 months.
And
It all
isn't
comes
it
around.
October where the Isle of Man TT is? Is it around that time?
Yeah.
So have they got to they've got to get the tax returns in and make sure they don't get run over by a bike. Once
Hard
you get
work
them.
for 'em.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. We had this conversation, didn't we, when MTD was first announced of would we want the date changed? Would we want anything other than the 31st of January? I don't know. Are we just
There
moving the
wasn't
goalposts
another
for the
good
sake?
time, was there, when we had that chat? So,
No. But would you want it any other time? Like, is there a
you know,
better date? I don't think there is there?
I came across a client the other day who had a stinker of a month in January. So his corp tax is due in January, his personal tax is due in January, and he's got a VAT quarter due in January. So in the space of 7th of February. So in the space of 7 days, he's got 3 huge tax bills. And it's like, oh, that is unfortunate. Shall we change some accounting periods and VAT periods to try and spread that out a bit? But ultimately, it's all got to go. It's all got to be paid. So there's not much you can do. But yeah, that was a stinker of a month for him.
Because in the corporation tax world, if you just purely do corporate tax, especially for the big boys, it's always 31st December is the big one, because a lot of 31st of March year ends, or 31st of December year end, should I say. So they normally have a really terrible December. So we should be more happy that we're not 31st of December as our cutoff point. Because the problem with that is you lose 2 weeks, don't you, or a week and a bit because of Christmas and New Year and everything else. Like, you don't really expect your team to be working at full capacity during that period. So, yeah, maybe we should count our blessings and just be happy that, you know what, 31st January is just something we just got to get acceptance with, isn't it?
Well, it's like we had because of annual accounts, like we average about 25 to 30 sets of accounts a month, deadline wise.
Yeah.
But December, like my head of accounts was going, oh, I'm so sorry, I've dropped the ball here. We seem to really disorganized. It's like, no. December, you've got 50 sets of accounts to be done by. So the fact that you're chasing the final 5 is not an issue. But it's also in the month that we've got the most accounts deadlines is also the month we lose 2 weeks for Christmas and New Year. So,
exactly.
Oh yeah. See, it's all about perspective. Right. So Cheryl says she's okay with self-assessment tax returns. It's VAT returns I feel like I'm behind on. Being ill in December has caught up with me. Yeah, it's as soon as you start losing time, that's it. You play catch up for ages. So,
and a lot of clients will have that December quarter, won't they? Because it's just a nice, clean, coterminous with a year end normally, isn't it? So yeah, December always seems to. The worst thing we do is we go, oh, we don't need to worry about VAT returns. Got those extra 7 days. Like, we never use those 7 days normally, but yeah, like that's the worst mentality you can have, isn't it? It's like, oh no.
Definitely, you need to stay like this side of Christmas, like the other side of the Christmas. Like we managed to get pretty much all of ours done before Christmas, so we didn't have to come back into that madness of the last 7 days, thankfully. Which was good.
Exactly. Oh, left. That's cool.
That's fine. Good morning, Dave. Leanne says clients don't always respond to emails. Do you ever have staff ever actually call to speak to them, as it might help to know the true situation? I worked for an accountant years ago and called clients. Yeah, and that's what my team have been doing for the last 2 weeks is text messages, WhatsApp messages, Facebook messages, phone calls, and we're still getting blanked and ignored. And that's fine, because a lot of those people are people like you. When you look at it, it's like they turned up last minute, they did the tax return begrudgingly, they paid begrudgingly, then you've not heard from them again all year. So actually, maybe they aren't, or you look at that self-assessment tax return and go, yeah, they were winding down in that one. We only speak to them annually because that's all they want. They just pay for the filing of the tax return basically. And it's like, yeah, actually it would make sense if they aren't going anymore and they just haven't told us. So yeah, but yeah, no, we are trialing all communication methods at the moment. Paul says it's been a rough January for him. Over 40% of our client base is still to bring in records for the year. Oh, that's gonna sting.
Yeah. 40% of your client base.
So, he said then now down to 18% still to hand it in, but working till 11 most nights. Ouch.
Yeah, that's not pretty at all. That's exactly where, you you want to stay away from. But the problem is, it's just working with your clients more, isn't it? But if you've got a client base that have just done it every single year for the past 10 years or so, that Paul's going to have, changing that mindset is not going to be easy, is it? It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter what software you bring in to kind of help that. It's never going to be a straightforward one, is it?
That, and there's the whole educating clients that just because I do give you a tax bill in April doesn't mean you have to pay it in April. Like they all think, oh, the moment you file it, it's due. It's like, no, it's not. So,
but same with anything, isn't it? If you give yourself a deadline, you normally just work till that deadline, don't you? Very rarely do you go, look, let's just get it done. So yeah, it's always tricky. But that is a rough situation to be in there, Paul. That's not good at all.
No. And are you finding, Aaron, that you've got more clients going on to payments in advance now?
Yeah.
A lot of our clients are forgetting that again now. So they went through COVID, they've been recovering, they've had losses to carry forwards and stuff. And this year's the year where they suddenly have to go back onto payments in advance. And it's like, oh, double tax. And they've had it cushy for a few years. They were on payments in advance before COVID. And if COVID hadn't happened, it would never have been an issue because they'd already gone through that pain point of tax bill plus payments in advance. Whereas this year they're going tax and payments in advance. Oh, didn't think about that.
And that's the bit where leaving it to the last minute really hurts them, isn't it? Like they were almost prepared for it in their mind. They're mentally like, oh, it's going to be around X, Y, Z. But when you add another 50% on top of that, that's when it hurts them, isn't it? And that's when being told a week, 5 days, a day before the deadline, that's when they get into trouble, and that's when they cause issue. I must admit, this has been the year where we've done the most amount of work on payment on accounts. Like we've done having to, because they've gone limited, or because they, we've had to do calculations to what there's going to be, because people just don't have the money, do they, to do it, unfortunately, which is, it's a shame.
So no, certainly challenging.
Oh, Paul says not getting notification on LinkedIn at the moment. Oh,
LinkedIn's been a bit funny with notifications recently.
Oh, you're not telling me LinkedIn's got problems and issues, and it's don't you start?
I know. So it's interesting. Right, Kirsty got a shout out on Virgin Radio last week, pointing out they've had since April to do it. Chris Evans and Vassos Alexander were surprised at that, and both praising their accountants and bookkeepers. That's nice to see.
That's awesome. Great to have a shout on Virgin, right? That's a nice one. Well done.
I hope they plugged your business name and not just said Kirsty says. Leanne says, it used to be a nightmare when we were doing proper tax return, paper tax returns. I used to work late and hand deliver to HMRC office, who also stayed open late and stamped our list of returns as proof of delivery. Oof.
Yeah, my first year as accounting, we had a couple of paper ones I had to, and our office was like literally only 10 minutes down the road, and we're going around, but even that was like a nightmare to get that sorted and go through and do all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we moan, don't we, about it, but actually, nowadays it's so much easier just to send out a signature, get it signed, and press one to it when it's done, right? Like but like Leanne said, back when it was just paper, it was even more of a painful process, and there definitely wasn't any fetch solution
no.
And in fact, it would have even been if a client came up and says, oh, actually, I've forgotten to tell you XYZ, you'd have to start the tax return from scratch.
There was no Tipexing and crossing out or anything. We do have life a lot of easier life with software, thankfully.
Yeah, maybe we should get off our soapbox a little bit.
Right, okay. I had another topic I wanted to talk about.
Let's go for it.
Oh, that's right. So we've spoken quite a few times, Aaron, about banks providing general ledger. I mean, it's a strong word, but providing
it's FMS these days. That's what we call it.
Trying to provide lightweight FMS solutions to their customers free of charge. Now, the only bank that really nailed this, to be fair, is NatWest and RBS, because they brought Free Agent and just pushed that out free of charge. Which, when you compare FMS solutions from banks like Starling and everyone else, free agent stands heads and tails above what is offered for free.
Yeah, 100%.
So like Virgin Money offer 3 months free with zero QuickBooks, but it's not free forever, which
Right.
free agent is if you're an RBS or NatWest customer. But a while ago, Revolut launched a payroll solution as well. Well, that solution's closing down. So as of April this year, Revolut customers will no longer be able to use the Revolut payroll tool to pay their employees and run payslips and stuff. And I always thought it a bit odd. Like, banks go into FMS, that's one thing. But going into payroll, like this do-it-yourself attitude, I can only assume they're shutting it down because no one or very few people have taken them up on it.
Or, as you rightly said in the pre-show, is how much work is involved in keeping it up to date.
Yes.
A lot, yeah. And how much of people actually would probably be sat there going, oh, it's broken, it's done this, and there must be a huge resource to keep a payroll solution up and running. Like just this month, we've had all the big changes with the national insurance, etc. You know, it's not just a let's develop it at the start of a year and let it run. It's every year we need development, and every year there's going to be in-year development as well, isn't there? It's one of the payrolls ones where you've got it. The ironic thing is though, it's actually a dream scenario, isn't it? If your bank can safely do the payroll for you, you could then have that efficiencies of making the payments easier and all that sort of stuff, right? So the dream of them doing it for you actually works quite well, and actually I can see the benefit of that. But ultimately, with the amount of efficiencies you can have with a really good payroll provider, I don't know where these ones were ever gonna make it that attractive, really. Other than the pain point of making the payments at the end, payroll's so good. And payroll's also that one of the ones where a lot of clients, they're so scared of doing their own payroll because it is that, you say it all the time, like it's that one area where you see those, you're paying someone's actual salary. Like that's the difference between them being able to afford their mortgage or not, right?
Yep. It's food on the table or not.
Exactly. So you get that wrong, or you click the wrong button, or you press the wrong thing, then that's a really dangerous one. So you want to have software you have confidence in, don't you? Normally that's what you'd want. So yeah, it's an odd one. Is this sign of things to come about maybe FMS solutions or bookkeeping solutions going forward? Is it really right to be in your banking app?
Yeah, you see, this is the interesting point I was going to come on to of, okay, so banks providing payroll software was obviously not gone well. And let's face it, Revolut users are early adopters. They like challenger banks. Like they're probably more tech savvy than those banking with the high street banks for the last 10 years type thing. When you look at the stereotypical client, users, customers of Revolut, they're probably more tech savvy. But then the amount of people I have conversations with that they go, well, why have I been doing this in Starling Bank or Monzo or something all year, where they're uploading receipts all year? Now they've realized actually there's no way of extracting that information for their accountants or bookkeepers, or even for them to do themselves, because the categories they've categorized into have no relevance to those that HMRC are asking for. So it's kind of like lots of people sign up for it in year one and then stop using it in year two because they've gone, well, that was painful. I'm going to use a proper FMS system or go back to my spreadsheets because that's less painful.
Yeah.
So how long until these FMS solutions from banks that aren't free agent, how long is it viable to maintain? And do we think actually MTD ITSA's going to just wipe these things off the face of the earth because they won't want to go to the effort of building all of that stuff that they need to build for that, because it'll mean costing money and they're not charging in the majority of cases for this stuff? So yeah, that was what got me pondering over a coffee the other day was, is this the first of the nails for FMS and softwares from banks backing out of that industry space?
Yeah, I would argue it's the first of the nails for them to take this to probably what they want to take. I imagine if I was sat around the, a fly on the wall where they were having these conversations about building this bookkeeping solution, they would have thought to themselves, why are we allowing QuickBooks Zero, Free Agent, Sage to connect to my banking account and then taking them off platform to go and do stuff? And that's what their whole idea is. Why are we allowing our users to go do that? We might as well build our own. They stay on platform, all those benefits. We can charge the same, blah, blah, blah.
Ecosystem, blah, blah. And that's not all that different to what the accounting softwares or the softwares in the accounting space are doing, is it? Like, look at Bright, and they've got practice management, they've got proposals, they've got payroll, they've got accounts. Like, that is what QuickBooks are trying to do. It's what Xero are trying to do. They're trying to provide this one stop, but none of them are able to do it with the banking side, thanks to FCA regulations, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And we've said a lot of time, haven't we? The dream of QuickBooks Bank and how that will be really great for our clients and all that. We can see the end goal. And doesn't matter if you go from the account at the bank looking to build out, or the FMS bookkeeping solution build downwards, like the end goal, that middle goal, brilliant. We love that, right? I think though that this is a nail in the coffin in terms of that big grand solution where it will do everything and be there, because that to me is unrealistic. The pace at which QuickBooks Zero, Sage, and are developing, and the amount of infrastructure they've got behind them, Intuit, Assist, and everything else, the AI elements that are going to come into it. I think the whole process is going to change quite drastically over the next couple of years. So I feel like that's unattainable both ways now, by the sounds of it, because all of the regulations about building banks and stuff have started to come into play as well, hasn't it? So I feel like that dream is slowly starting to die, which is a shame. But I think the learnings they should be taking from this is to actually just target MTD. It's just have for your most simplistic clients out there, where MTD is actually just a pain in the backside for them, and it's just an extra cost for them in terms of having to buy a piece of software, learn a piece of software, and submit on a quarterly basis. If they can just target your accent or rental incomes, I know that they're phased out a little bit because of the threshold stuff, but they'll be in there at some point, right?
Yeah.
But if they can just target on the simplest of them, the sole traders who, a window cleaner who just goes around and does a quite simplistic window cleaner route, and they don't want to have that complication of having to have all of the bells and whistles that you get with your full-blown FMS bookkeeping solution. That's what they should be targeting, right? A really simple way where those people can get a bank, get the opportunity to submit their MTD quarterly returns, and that's what it offers them. That's for me what they should be concentrating on, not trying to this golden goose of trying to replicate a QuickBooks, replicate a Xero. I don't feel like that's worthwhile for anyone, in my opinion. But do you think it's attainable? Do you think a really simple MTD? Because that's what Coconut was going to be, right?
It was, but as you say, like the thresholds now have changed.
Yeah.
Like the income levels have changed, etc. Do we think they're going to go down? If they do, I don't see it very quickly. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's watch this space, but I do wonder if this is the sign of people backing out of the market. Now the MTD thresholds changed, have they gone, actually it's not really worth it? So yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be one to watch, I think.
But payroll definitely is something they should stay away from.
Payroll should have never been touched. Tide were looking at doing their own payroll solution at one point. I think they realized that it was just that, because Tide spoke to me several times about payroll solutions and how it could work and stuff. And I just said, look, it's a space you don't want to be involved in. Your team haven't taken all of these risks into consideration, all this support they're going to want to roll out and stuff. And because of that, they dropped it.
Yeah.
because they hadn't taken that into account. They just thought it was a plug and go software. It's like, no, it's not at all. Paul says in the comments, I feel one of the problems is most sole trader clients use personal accounts. Do their banks want to spend resources developing FMS solutions for that? Well, they aren't. The FMS solutions are only available on sole trader and business accounts. So I suppose in a way that's their way of trying to convince people to use the proper bank account. Now,
One of your
technically,
benefits, isn't it?
yeah,
Of going to
technically
business.
on paper, it's against their rules to use an individual account for any business purposes. So technically, if they actually analyze the transactions and work through the accounts, they could shut down or freeze a lot of accounts overnight to force people into proper bank accounts whether it's a free provision or not from the bank, so that they're using the right accounts with the right tools. But I don't think they'll ever go that far. So yeah, no, it is interesting, and we'll see what comes out of this with the FMS side of things now that payroll's been dropped.
Because have you ever seen any of them that have filed VAT returns via these solutions? See, they're technically there, aren't they? I can't. Is it tied? One of them has the option to file MTD tax returns via the solution, but and I can imagine for self-service, it probably is a good enough solution for them to do it, just to keep relevant and just to offer that there. But I don't know. It feels like you're putting too much trust into a software that's not purpose built, right? It wasn't ever designed for that, and it isn't designed to go into all the detail that realistically you want, all the controls you want in place. But then maybe we're looking at it as a too much of a accountant first approach, because we like having nice tick boxes and clean accounts and everything else, don't we? Where for some people, they don't need that, do they? All they want to do is know that they're being quote unquote compliant by pressing the button, and if it's a couple of quid out here or there, it's part of the cause, right? Like that. That's it. So yeah, I'm all up for, because I do like the idea of people being able to do their own tax returns, their own VAT returns, everything else, and having software that's just built in makes sense. But I don't know, like payroll, VAT returns, I feel like they're step too far. And really, these should be just for the basic clients. If you're at the VAT threshold, I feel like you need to have a more sophisticated piece of software to run your books, right?
Definitely. So I'd like to talk about AI, because we don't ever talk about AI, right?
No, we don't. No. What's AI?
I think 2023 was a bit of a crap year for AI in accounting. Like, we saw some great stuff come out, but then we're still waiting for it to develop. So
we saw some great concepts.
Concepts came out. So like Todd, so tax on demand,
Amazing.
like people are using that quite a lot, and they're doing very well out of it. Great. Some practice management solutions said they were going to do all sorts of stuff. One didn't do any of it in the end. The other one did some bits, but I'd say they were more low value gimmicky side of things, and I don't know how well used they actually are. And then we've been promised by some of the bigger companies out there like QuickBooks this great new tool coming out later this year in the UK. But I don't feel at this moment in time we've really seen anything with any real value. And I think everyone's proposals, maybe apart from QuickBooks, is a bit like weak. So like at CES last week, I was watching a video, and AI is being put into everything. You name it, they've put AI into it. So there's this outdoor barbecue thing powered by AI. You tell it how you like your steak. You put your steak in it. It measures and weighs it inside the barbecue, cooks it, and then you rate the quality of the cooking on the steak.
Yeah.
So it learns each time you cook a steak on it. It's like, do I need AI in my barbecue doing that? Or is it just a gimmick, and is it actually low value? And that's what kind of got me thinking of the solutions that have been proposed so far in the accounting industry. Softwares feel skin deep, like gimmicky. Like, they're not really going to deliver any value to us at the moment. But yeah, I just wondered what your thoughts on that were, because AI is something that we both follow a lot of. And yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think what we've got to bear in mind is that we still at that position for most of us as accountants where our data is always in these little silos. And that's always going to be our problem, isn't it? We keep talking about this. How do we get that data to be easier to be accessible? Because the only way AI is ever going to achieve what we want it to achieve is that it can have a blanket look at all of our clients, all of their positions, and have access to all of their data, which, unless you're in one ecosystem to rule them all, is never going to happen, is it? We're always going to have that barrier to entry, aren't we? We're always going to rightly be cautious about letting AI just be involved in absolutely everything. Yeah, we're going to want to hold it back and everything else. So I do feel like no matter how much we like want AI to be the next best thing, we're always going to be held back unless we fully commit to one ecosystem or the other. And I feel like that's always going to be our Achilles heel in the accounting industry. That's always going to hold us back, because my dream of what AI can do for us is, a client sends in a query and the AI goes out and looks at various issues for us and gives us an opportunity to say, right, they've asked for X, Y, Z, but they haven't provided their bank statements for the past 2 months or 2 years or whatever. So we've got missing information and they want us to provide this cash flow forecasting, but actually we haven't reconciled the bank for the last 4 weeks. It needs to have that holistic view for us to really be able to benefit to do it, because that's what we want AI to do. It's not to replace our jobs, it's to make it easier for us to be able to respond in a more efficient manner, so then we can provide that service at a greater rate, right? Like,
Is to do the legwork when we're researching options and stuff like that.
Exactly. And the only way it can do that is it has to be able to see everything. It needs to know what our practice management solution is. It needs to know what that particular client's bookkeeping is. It needs to know maybe what HMRC is wanting at that point, don't need to worry about doing it because HMRC is not even requesting the tax return this year. That's what the sort of things that's the dream scenario, isn't it? It's us being able to add the value, but the AI providing us the answers or providing us the prompts for us to then add value to it. That's the dream scenario. And I just feel like most other industries, especially the tech industry, they've got it a lot easier, haven't they? Because that barbecue scenario you talked about, they can have access to every bit of data they need for that, right?
Yeah. John Smith likes his steaks done like this. Well, what are you going to like? No, you're not going to hack someone's bank account based on that, are you?
Exactly. Where we've got such sensitive and more, rightly so, we've got more rigid data sets that we need to be more, we need to be more cautious of who we let in and who we don't. I feel like that's always going to be the Achilles heel. So, until we can nail the ecosystem to rule them all, or find ways that if we do let other ecosystems in, we can do it safely. And it's almost like we almost need the open banking of data, don't we? Like the benefit of open banking was that instead of having all these different solutions have their own way of extracting bank data and having to, go through all manner of ways that was unsafe to get the banking data to talk to your bookkeeping solution, open banking was like, right, there's one route in for everyone to use and we're going to regulate that one route. If we could have like an open banking S for client data, like maybe there's going to be an opportunity for us to open this up. But I feel like until that happens, or until one ecosystem has an ecosystem that we can all definitely use for, and there's no compromise in that ecosystem, I feel like we're in a bit of a no man's land at the moment, aren't we? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And to the point, the more and more I think about the security side of it, the data protection side of it, the more I think, actually, how big a thing is AI going to be for accountants and bookkeepers outside of, like, even writing emails for us that are specifically responding to a client inquiry. Like, so if a client emails you're saying, oh, I need my UTR number. How secure can the AI be to then go into a practice management tool and get that UTR number and put it into that email? Like you're exposing personal data.
Yeah, exactly.
So like there are, don't get me wrong, there's lots of opportunities out there for a lot of generic stuff. So like we're doing a lot of Zoom meetings now with AI note taking. Now, some of it's pretty horrific. Like it can't even work out who's talking half the time. But if that can be refined, then yeah, that's going to have a huge value to us because we can log all those notes quickly and easily against the client meeting log and have that against the client's data. We've got AI can be used in the FMS tool for cleanliness of the data, for working out bank transactions and speeding that up. It can be used in document processing for receipts and stuff. It can be used in generating report stuff, analytical insights. But again, it's going to be limited and fairly generic. And what the AI has been taught is important versus what we think is important could be two very different things, and that's going to be varying business to business. So yeah, I was just sat there last week going, how powerful and effective is this actually going to be for us, and how soon are we actually going to see some really tangible outcomes that aren't just, oh, we think you should respond to this email in this manner, and or you know, I answer an email honestly, put it through Chat GPT and tell it to make it more professional. That type of thing. Outside of that, I don't know. I think the accounting and bookkeeping space has got too much sensitive data. I'm not sure that it's the big thing that everyone at all the conferences is saying it is at the moment. Like, I want it to be. Like, I want AI to be incredible. And I sit there watching, like, I see in the YouTube industry, all these YouTube thumbnails being created by AI and saving time there, and analyzing videos and creating scripts, like transcripts out of the videos and all of this other great stuff. I sit there going, that's fantastic. That is great. But how applicable is it going to be in the accounting industry in the next year or two?
And maybe we need to stop. Is it selfish or maybe stop thinking about it from a practice point of view, and maybe we should just be encouraging them all to start thinking it from a client point of view, user client point of view. Because where AI is already so powerful is the VAT error checker is a very primitive form of AI, right? It's more machine learning than anything else, but it is that starting point, isn't it? The VAT error checker in QuickBooks, where it'll go through and it'll give a nice little insight into how accurate they think this VAT return is going to be at this point in time. Now, if they really just put all the focus on those pain points and a user can easily be able to use the software and have confidence in it, then maybe that's all the accounting industry will ever need, really. Because if we have clean data, we can definitely do a lot more with it, right? Like that's our biggest Achilles heel at the moment. We want to, we want to help clients. We want to be able to provide business advice. We want to do all the fun stuff, but sometimes we're just held back by, the client's not understood what the data needs to be, and they've done their best they possibly can, but they're not bookkeepers or accountants. They're fishmongers or candlestick makers or whatever they are. So, and they just don't have the budget to be able to afford to get someone else to do the bookkeeping for them. So they're doing the best they can, but it's it's not enough for us to be able to do any meaningful work with. So maybe we just need to triple down on the fact that we want to be getting AI more than anything else is to be client facing, like make it so that when they go into their bookkeeping solution of choice, they can come out of that and they can have as clean and tight, or at least consistently data. Maybe that's what we need to be pushing more than anything else. Let's not worry too much about how it can affect us as our practice, but let's really nail on what we can do to help our clients. Maybe that's what we've got to start doing.
Yeah, no, don't disagree at all. So yeah, no, it just got me thinking when I'm sat there watching these videos about CES and pillows with AI built in, and like fridges with AI built in that can scan your fridge and tell you, right, you've taken 3 bottles of wine out of the fridge this week, I'm adding it to your order. Or, you know, oh, you've put this type of meat in, I'm going to increase or decrease the temperature by 1 degree to help maintain its life as long as possible. And just like, really, like, it's how much benefit is in all of this stuff? How much of it's just marketing gimmicky stuff? And
But we saw that at Accountex, didn't we?
yeah,
Like 2 of the biggest come and join our stands were because practice management solutions were turning on AI for the first time. Now, in reality, one of them scaled it back completely, and now I don't think he's even offering it at this point in time, or at least not looking to offer it anytime soon. And the other solution wasn't quite what we were expecting it to be, and they've just kind of, but that's how they get eyes on the thing. It's such a competitive industry, isn't it? You need something to go, come and look at our stand. And that's the same at CES, isn't it? It's like, and any show at any point, like you want to, it's that whole clickbaitiness, isn't it? Like that's what we live and die by now. It's how clickbaity we can make our product. So yeah, I feel like it's the same for us, isn't it? We're going to, it's going to be a buzzword that we'll throw around, and oh, look at this, we've got this AI-ness that does this. And yeah, in reality, I don't think at this point in time it's going to be what our expectations are. I think we just got to rein them in, haven't we, to what we believe.
Yeah, I think the power that AI is going to have in a lot of industries, like, can you imagine AI powering more analytics and insights and ordering stuff in supermarkets for the supermarket?
Yeah,
like,
exactly right.
That's going to be incredibly powerful. AI in marketing and advertising has already been seen as incredibly powerful, but I just don't feel we're going to get the same wow factor from incredible powerful AI in the accounting industry in the next year or two.
No. But then from a client point of view, if MailChimp and QuickBooks are all working on the same database, that's the wow factor, isn't it? Like, their bookkeeping solutions not just helping them save money on their tax return, but also has told them to double down on selling XYZ in the month of February because it's gone bananas. Like that's where it becomes powerful, isn't it? And then it automatically generates you a campaign to go out there and next February go out there and sell that product. Like that's where the AI will massively help. But
so again, it's helping the client.
For accountants, is it's for the end user.
No, you're right. I completely agree. So on that disappointing bombshell, that is AI is not going to be great for the accounting industry for the next year or two. That brings us to an end of this show. It's 9:30 in the morning. So thank you very much, Aaron. What have you got coming up this week? Anything you want to plug or announce?
Just all accounts, really. Tax returns, accounts. I'm just a lot of meetings, a lot of stuff. I'm on. I'm doing my YouTube rounds though. So John Luke from the internet, so fame of reselling. I'll be on his channel Tuesday night. So yeah, if you want to listen to anything about reselling, all the new issues that have happened with HMRC, and what to really look out for, some tips and tricks to make sure that you stay compliant, then come and join me. I believe it'll be on my channel as well, but if not, it'll be on John Luke's channel. So just do a little Google and you'll find him. So Google John Luke Resell, and I'll be there on Tuesday. Apart from that, though, it is really just tax returns, which is what do you expect as an accountant in January, really? What about you, Andy? Anything exciting coming out that we should be looking out for?
Not really. Like, as you say, it's just tax returns and stuff for me. Client Engager is busy developing various bits and pieces for release over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So keep your eyes out on that. And then, I've got to go and build all these training materials for this new certification process.
What are you about to say? Build all these Lego?
No, I've done all my Lego. I'm a bit, I might treat myself to something after the tax return period. the huge Millennium Vulcan or AT-AT Walker thing. It's like, oh, tempting, but no, I don't think I've got the space, but never mind. But yeah, no, nothing hugely exciting from me this week. I'll just be cracking on with client meetings and stuff as always. If you are listening to us live on the podcast, then don't forget you can always join us live at 8:30 a.m. every Monday morning, where you can comment in the comments and interact with the show. So from both Aaron and myself, thank you very much for tuning in. We will look forward to speaking to you next week.
Cheers, everyone. Have a good week. And yeah, how many days we got left? Oh, I should have had that up and running.
16.
Yeah, 16 days to go. We've got this. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.